Okay, so a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, we had covered the Nightwing miniseries that came out in 1990s. And that was really more DC kind of getting a feel to see if fans would really love the idea of Nightwing having his own book, because around that time you had Batman, a lot of Batman books, but you also had a Robin book as well with Tim Drake. And so for DC, it was more of, let's see if fans cared for a Nightwing book. They did. The miniseries worked out. And so right after that miniseries, we got Nightwing's first solo book. And so I thought it'd be a cool idea to kind of go ahead and cover the first story arc of Nightwing's ongoing series, but also seeing the hero move into Bludhaven. And really, as we get into the opening pages of this storyline, it's really more of us playing catch up, because we pick up with Nightwing already struggling in Bludhaven. The dude is about to drown because he has been cuffed to a refrigerator that's weighing him down in this body of water. And so we're kind of left to wonder, okay, how in the world did we get to this point right here? And so, of course, we have to backtrack to kind of learn what exactly happened earlier. And so as we get into the flashback, we kind of pick up with Dick Grayson meeting up with Batman at the morgue. And here's the reason why, because there are 21 dead bodies at this morgue. They were all found in the river, and they all floated down the river from one particular direction, of course, coming from Bludhaven. And so for Batman, he said, listen, all 21 men, their necks were broken, but on top of that, they all belong to one particular gang, better known as Angel Marins. And so you have Batman say, Dick, I need you to head over to Bludhaven to kind of figure out what exactly is going on. Like, why is 21 gang members' bodies floating in a river coming from Bludhaven, but also all their necks were broken? And so as we see Dick Grayson heading over to Bludhaven, we already get the idea that Bludhaven is just as bad as Gotham, or possibly worse. It can't be better than Gotham. So it's kind of like, man, Dick Grayson, what have you put yourself into? Now, as soon as he arrives, he kind of sees how bad the city is, because you do have this random girl being harassed by two random guys, and you have Dick Grayson being able to stand up for her, give her some money to send her back to Gotham. Matter of fact, he said, go over to Wayne Corp and tell them I sent you so that you're able to get a job, but to also stay away from this bad, horrible city. Now, for Dick, he now knows where to go first when it comes to figuring out who killed off all those different gang members. A rival gang, better known as Freddie Mean. Now, Freddie Mean is a gang leader, and he is a rival Angel Marins. So it's kind of like, okay, cool. He has to be the person who's coming after Angel's gang. Now, once you do have Nightwing arrive at the home of Freddy, he sees the wife of Freddy freaking out. And the reason why, because another gang is there. And this gang does not belong to Angel at all. No, this gang belongs to Black Mask, another gang leader who usually works out of Gotham, well-known Batman villain. So the question is right now, why in the world is Black Mask False Face Society here right now in Bludhaven? And so the Dick, that means is Black Mask slowly trying to move into Bludhaven to put operation out here as well to build up his money. But for Freddy's wife, the reason why she's freaking out, because they just took a fridge, and apparently she's saying there are kids trapped inside the fridge. And so for Dick Grayson, he has to save the kids' life. It's not fair that kids just got pushed into, well, a refrigerator. And so you have Dick Grayson being that hero, being Nightwing, just going after the False Face Society. Now, while fighting against them, there's one particular person who's going to be very important for the story arc. It's the one who wears the mask of the Fox. Now, for the Fox, he's trying his best to kill off Nightwing. He's doing all these different things. You also have the rest of the group also trying to kill off Nightwing, but it's Nightwing. The dude was trained by Batman, so he was able to kind of give them one heck of a beatdown. Now for Dick, he thinks like, okay, you know what? It's all good. Let me go ahead and open up the fridge. Except when he does, well, there are no children technically. You see, what happened was there was a briefcase being kept inside the refrigerator. Here's the reason why, because inside the briefcase is a bunch of egg cells. Now, these egg cells are basically eggs that were fertilized because for Freddy and his wife, they're trying to have children and they're going through this route to hopefully have children one day. And so the briefcase was being kept inside the refrigerator. And so for Black Mask, he got word about that and said, you know what? How about this? If I am able to steal the briefcase, I can put some pressure on Freddy to possibly have Freddy work with me or allow me to take over some of his territory in Bludhaven. Now for Nightwing, he was distracted because he's kind of like, wait a second, I thought I was going out of my way to the child that was alive and being, stored inside a refrigerator. But in reality, it's just egg cells. But while he was being distracted, he gets knocked out from behind. And so that kind of leads us back over to the present day where we pick up with Nightwing at the bottom of the river trying his best not to drown. Now, apparently, before he had fell into the river, he was also able to grab the briefcase. So for Fox, he now has to go back to his boss to tell his boss that technically he had failed. Now for Dick, he was able to break free, get the briefcase, and swim back up to the surface. So once he's back up there, he realized, okay, all Black Mask crew had left because they believed, one, I died, but two, the briefcase is completely lost. And so you do see the guy wearing the Fox mask call up his boss, Black Mask. And Black Mask is ticked off like, dude, you had a job to do and you failed me. So, hey, I'm going to give you one more chance. But if you fail me again, you're going to die. Now, we do learn the name of this guy, and his name is Reynard or Renard. I do know that it is pronounced both ways, but I'm going to say Renard. But either way, for Renard, he's kind of like, yes, sir, I'm going to do my best. But of course, you can see that he's freaking out because, again, if he fails, he's going to die. But now we transition over to, well, the police department where we pick up with Redhorn. Now, Redhorn is the chief, right? He's the man in charge. And you would think like, okay, he would be happy that Nightwing is there. This is going to be Nightwing's Jim Gordon. No, Redhorn is not happy about the idea of Nightwing being there, kind of telling us that there's some or a lot of corruption going on in the police department as well. But he does call in a detective. Now, this detective, his name is Soames, and I really hope I pronounced that correctly. I did see different ways to pronounce that name, but for Soames, he's kind of like this guy you call in when you want something handled. He's like, hey man, listen, even though you are a detective, I know you're the right guy to call when it comes to handling situations like Nightwing. I want you to handle Nightwing before he is able to kind of expose a lot of bad things about us. But while you have the two guys talking, well, Nightwing walks into the room. But as you dive into the second chapter, you're now seeing Nightwing and also Detective Soames or Inspector Soames in the middle of a landfill because the chief told him, hey, listen, take him right now, handcuff him, landfill, kill him, and we can move on with our day. Except you have Inspector Soames tell Nightwing like, hey, listen, I am not a bad cop. Matter of fact, I'm trying my best to get rid of corruption in this city. And so it's him right now trying to work with Nightwing here. Like, hey, listen, you and I need to work together to kind of slowly get rid of corruption in the city. And matter of fact, let me tell you what's going on right now at the docks. There is a whole entire smuggling operation going on right now. And apparently the law is not allowed to take care of that operation, but you can. And so for Nightwing, he's kind of like, okay, cool. So there are at least one cop here I can possibly trust. Now, with all that being said, you have Soames tell Nightwing, I'll tell my boss that you were able to escape by beating me down. And so you have Nightwing punch him as a way to have proof that, yeah, he did get beat down and Nightwing was able to get away. Now, for Nightwing, it's him kind of realizing that he's going to be in Bludhaven for a while because there's so much corruption happening in this city. He needs to stay there for a good period of time. But this is also Nightwing saying like, I need to prove myself. And here's the reason why, because when it came to Batman Nightfall, as we all know, Batman did not choose Nightwing at all. Instead, he chose John Paul Valley. And that really did bother Dick Grayson a lot, kind of like, dude, you raised me, you trained me to possibly replace you one day maybe. And then you go out of your way to find somebody else to replace you. And that person went off the ledge and made things a whole lot worse for you and also Gotham. So why in the world would you do that? And so it's Dick saying like, you know what? I'm going to show him that I could be just as good as him, but here in Bludhaven. Now, he does find an apartment. Yes, here's the thing, because it's also Nightwing possibly getting a brand new love interest, because the person in charge of the complex, the landlord, she's kind of like, hey, come back tomorrow with the money and it's all yours. But he doesn't see her, but he does hear her voice. It's an Irish voice. He's kind of like, oh, Irish accent. Okay, you know what? I kind of like that. It's him already finding somebody to be with while moving into Bludhaven. But after all of that, you didn't have Dick say, you know what, let me go ahead and begin to work on the whole smuggling operation that's going on at the docks. And so once you have Dick arrive there, he realized that he sees a bunch of vehicles being loaded onto a train. Now, you would think like, okay, exotic vehicles, got it, cool. No, it's older models. And so for Dick, he's kind of wondering, what in the world is going on here? Why these old vehicles being transported across Bludhaven and most likely over to Gotham? And the reason why I say Gotham, because this whole entire operation is being run by Black Mask. And so for Dick, he's kind of like, okay, once again, time to get to work. And so you have Dick fight against all the different members of Black Mask gang here on this train. Now, their leader is the guy in the fox mask once again. And remember, his boss said, if you fail, you're gonna die. And so unfortunately, he does fail, because you do have Dick Grayson being able to take down technically the entire operation and leave. But the problem is right now, he still has no answers. He has no idea what was going on with that train and what were they really trying to transport there. And so now he's kind of wondering if Detective Soames is possibly a corrupt cop. Now, for Inspector Soames, we see him head over to the home of Freddie Mean to hand back over the egg cells that were stolen earlier in this storyline back to her. And so we kind of get the idea that he's possibly working for that gang. But you also have Soames asking, where is Freddie? But his wife says he's still away on business. So we're still wondering, is he truly a corrupt cop? But you do have Soames meet back up with his boss. So you do have his boss tell him, like, you're on the Nightwing case. Like, your main goal is to find a way to get rid of this hero, because Bludhaven does not need a hero to expose all the different corruption going on in this city. And so for Soames, he loves the idea of being assigned to that case. But let's not forget, the guy in the Fox mask, Renard, he was told, like, if you fail once again, you're going to die. And so when he goes back to his apartment, well, there is another false-faced person there sent there by Black Mask to kill him off. Now, you do have Renard pretend that he was begging for his life. He gets on his knees, but in reality, he had a gun underneath his bed and used the gun as a way to escape this situation. But for him, he's now trying his best to figure out how to get rid of Nightwing. But as we dive into the final chapter of this storyline, is really more Dick Grayson just moving into Bludhaven, but also is him trying to think, like, is there a possibility of him getting with the landlord? Because he loves her voice. He loves the way she talks. Now, he still hasn't seen her yet, but he still loves the way she talks. Now, for Dick Grayson, he already had a couple failed relationship, one very recently. And so for Dick, it's more of like, man, okay, gotta be careful, but at the same time, I am now the protector of Bludhaven. I'm going to be out here, be that hero that his city needs at the moment. Now, you do have Nightwing meet up with Soames once again, but it's really more Nightwing saying like, hey, listen, I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know who you actually are, because to Nightwing, it does seem like Soames is playing both sides, but at the same time, he is. But for Nightwing, He doesn't know that yet. But for Nightwing, he does realize the only person right now he can talk to and trust is Soames at the moment in Bludhaven. And so you have Soames say, like, listen, all the old gangs are being pushed out by somebody. He does not know who, but all the old gangs are being pushed out. Now, for Black Mask, he's not the person doing the push out. Really, it's Black Mask trying to push in, but unfortunately, he's also getting pushed out as well. It's somebody else out there playing behind the scenes. But it's Dick saying, like, you know what? I'll trust you for now. Now, you do have Soames tell Dick, like, hey, you need to head over to this location called Allie's Bank. Now, Allie's Bank is in Z Moore area, and we do learn a tad bit more about Z Moore's area. Now, Z Moore is a particular area in Bludhaven where technically the poor lives in. Like, there's tall towers, yes, but the poor live in those tall towers. Now, there's only one bank in that area, and that one bank is supposed to be for like DPAs and SSNs, but the problem is right now for Dick Grayson, he realized he has not seen any elderly person walk up to cash their checks. And so he realized that bank is a front. And so he goes inside and he meets the person in charge. Now, for Dick Grayson, it's really more of him trying to figure out what exactly is going on in Bludhaven. But the rest of the book is really more of us now seeing a helicopter appear. And of course, it's the Fox guy once again trying to finish the job for Black Mask. Now, with the helicopter, he found a way to attach a device to kind of pick up the container to carry it away because it is holding a lot of money. But the problem is Dick Grayson is there. So you have Nightwing being that hero. And so the rest of the book, this issue, is really more of him just being able to be that hero and being able to stop Foxman once again. Now, after doing that, you then have Dick Grayson get a call from Batman. And it's really more Batman and Tim Drake on the line too, kind of like, hey, Dick Grayson, how's everything going in Bludhaven? And you have Dick say, hey, you know what? I'm going to stay out here for a while. Basically establishing that he will be part of Bludhaven, that this is his Gotham and he'll be in here up until, like, you know, Battle for the Cowl, where you have Dick Grayson move back to Gotham because, you know, like, he became Batman. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.